Hello, everybody. It's been a very long time. I think it's been 3 years. That's crazy. I'm alive. I didn't die in a motorcycle accident or anything. I haven't been to prison. So, things are okay. All things considered with COVID and all that stuff. I hope this video catches you in good spirits, I guess. I hope that you're doing well. Today, I'm going to make a video for you guys. Actually, this video is for everybody. I am doing a little bit differently. I'm not doing it on my motorcycle. I am overdubbing this, or what do they call it? Voiceover is what I'm doing. I have a list of things I want to talk about, but they're all on the same topic. So basically, today I'm going to tell you the story, my story, and why I disappeared for 3 years from this channel. It all has to do with depression. I've never really suffered from anxiety. It's usually just been depression, so here we go. This might take a while, so I hope you guys stick with me. If not, that's okay, but hopefully this helps somebody anyways. My depression started when I was in grade 6, from what I can remember. The vice principal of my school, he used to treat me like absolute garbage and blamed me for a lot of things that I didn't do. It was like basically bullying kind of stuff and that kind of thing. Why she chose me, I don't know, but whatever, that's way in the past now. But that was the first time that I ever remember feeling the crushing power of depression. I remember an overwhelming and constant urge to hurt myself. Truthfully, I didn't understand what was going on, but there were times where I'd be so upset in class, not crying, but like shoving all the emotions on the inside. I remember holding scissors to my wrists and wanting to cut it, but then knowing that if I cut it, then everybody would see me bleeding in class, so I shouldn't do it in class. But anyways, throughout my junior high years, so this is moving forward obviously, I managed to keep my depression under control by keeping myself busy and finding tons of hobbies to do. I doubled up on my martial arts classes. I started a band with a couple of my friends. I used to play, well, I guess I still do. I play guitar and drums, but I used to play guitar for the band and then I switched over to drums. That was pretty awesome. I even started painting landscapes. Moving forward, in grade 11, that's Canadian grade 11, so I don't know what that is in Britain, but I think it's called a junior in high school for the US people. But that's when the shit hit the proverbial fan. I had a very good friend of mine who was constantly bullied and generally treated really poorly. He's a super quiet and very, very kind soul, so I took it upon myself to stand up for him, and it wasn't a violent stand-up or anything like that. It was just basically a, hey, leave him the fuck alone kind of thing. But that left me, I guess I lost a lot of contact with a lot of people in my grade because they all wanted to pick on him and I was the asshole who was telling them they can't. So, yeah. Anyways, I was just trying to help a buddy, you know, I guess I understand because he was very, very quiet and, you know, he didn't want to rock any boats or anything. But first of all, I realize that this sounds like I'm whining, but it's all for a purpose, so stick with me here. Through my final year of high school, I pretty much stuck with my core group of 4 or 5 friends, which was basically my band. And then fast forward from that, just a couple years, I found myself in cooking school, and cooking with what would become my true, most trusted and loved friends. You can actually find them on YouTube as well, links later. But I consider them family, and I'd do anything for these guys. I just thought you should also hear that, you know, while there were a lot of shitty times, there were really good things that came out of those times. So my life has not always been black, if that makes sense. After cooking school, I entered the cooking industry, obviously, but I entered it with like this bring it on kind of attitude, and ready to make a name for myself and be as big as whatever, Emeril Lagasse. Yeah, that's how old I am. Emeril Lagasse had a show back then. Bam! What I didn't know then, what I do know now, was how broken and fucked up the cooking industry actually is. It's full of verbal and physical abuse, tons and tons of booze, and ridiculous quantities of drugs. We're not talking weed, we're talking like cocaine, crystal meth, heroin, that kind of shit. So yeah, like all the drugs. For those of you who don't know me personally, I am not a partier. I don't party, really. I don't really drink. I don't do drugs. Needless to say, it's not an industry that did anything positive for my mental health. Actually, as a side note, the best experience I had cooking was when the owner of the restaurant that I was employed at sold his property to the government and shut the doors without warning. What a great day. This is around the time that I had a very, very good friend of mine pass away. His name was Cody, and he died in a motorcycle accident, of all things. He passed away on Canada Day. Actually, I guess 4 days or 5 days after Canada Day, for those Canadians out there who want to know the date. But because I was cooking, I couldn't gather enough money to buy a motorcycle, obviously, because cooking doesn't make you any money at all. But I always promised Cody, I said, dude, man, the minute I can, I'm going to buy a bike and I'll ride with you, man. It'd be awesome. And I never got that chance. And fuck, this still gives me goosebumps, man. He died riding on the highway with his girlfriend on the back of his motorcycle. He wasn't speeding. The police say he wasn't drunk. The police say he wasn't on drugs, nothing like that. Just a high-speed wobble or whatever, and he lost control. His girlfriend survived with minimal injuries. Cody did not. He fell off the bike, smashed his helmet, and ended up in a coma for a few days, and then passed away from a heart attack. And yeah, that was really, really tough for me, because I was the first close person beside my grandpa who had passed away. And yeah, anyways, that clearly affects your mental health. However much you want to say it doesn't, somebody dying definitely affects mental health, because they were there and all of a sudden they're gone. I took a phone call and I went outside to take the phone call, and I get this phone call from Cody's friend, and he says, "Hey man, did you hear about Cody?" I said, "Yeah man, I did. It fucking sucks. I'm gonna go visit him in the hospital." And he goes, "No man, Cody died this morning." And I remember being silent on the phone, and then I just basically said, "Oh shit, thanks." And then I hung up. It was very, very awkward and weird the way I responded, but I walked in my house, and I walked to my parents, and they saw me, and I don't know if I looked upset or if I was white or whatever. They asked me what's wrong, and I said, "I've never had a friend die before." And they're like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, Cody just died." And I remember feeling this huge loss in my heart, this fucking hole that was like all of a sudden there, and the inability to cry for some reason. Yeah, that was kind of tough to talk about, not gonna lie to you. But moving on from there, a few years later, I'm still feeling down and like I wanted to harm myself. But I ended up scoring a job. I ended up scoring a job that I thought was going to change my life for the better. I was hired on at a very large and powerful rail company. No names mentioned, because I don't want a lawsuit, because a lawsuit from them would suck. I became a licensed and qualified train conductor, of all things. No, it's not like the movies where you say all aboard and all that bullshit. I actually worked on a freight train, or I guess on the freight train side of this company. This is where things get dark though. If you need a break, feel free to pause or click on a video of kittens or whatever. You know, whatever brings you a smile. To understand the nuances of this job, I'd need a whole nother video. So to avoid that, I'll cut some of the lesser important details of my job at the railway company. I'll cut that out. Where I lived at the time, there were 4 large rail yards, and each of those rail yards had dozens upon dozens of tracks for switching rail cars and the like. Now what this company did, to me at least, was bounce me around every rail yard, never giving me a real home there. They never really gave me the chance to learn the yard's layout, which is a very important thing. It's very crucial and very important for safety. But whatever, right? Learn on the job. Learn on the job. I worked there for a year, and I dealt with the crazy on-call 24/7, 365 lifestyle. That was tough, really, really tough. They had a list of 12 or 13 guys, and when you got your name rotated to the top of the list, you were going to be called out next. So when you got back home from work, your name would be at the bottom of the list, and it could be 4 hours until you get called out next, or it could be 4 days. You never knew. It was fucking bananas. Along with that came a huge amount of verbal abuse and the abnormally large quantity of workers who would show up drunk. It was actually bananas, man. It's not like a car where you can kind of like swerve out of control when you're drunk. This is, you're on rails, so basically you're just adjusting the speed, I guess, you know, and brakes and stuff. So timing can be off, and the ability to comprehend when you need to hit the brakes or that kind of thing, you know. But anyways, I absolutely hated this job to the point where I was so depressed that for the first time in my life, I could literally not get out of bed. My days and nights riding the rails had me wanting to actually jump under a rolling train. And I realize that sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. Every single fucking day, I thought about killing myself. I thought about throwing myself under a fucking train. That's how fucked it was. My only saving grace was my sister. Those of you who don't know me, I have an older brother who's 2.5 years older than me, and I have a younger sister who's 2.5 years younger than me. And the way I talked myself out of ending my life while I was in a rail yard or riding trains or whatever was by telling myself, what would she do if I died? How upset would she be if I was dead? And I thought this to myself, and I was like, I can't do that to her. Like, she's one of my best friends. Like, my sister is literally my best friend. We have this awesome relationship. She's the greatest person in the world. The day this job broke me, though, it was an interesting one. I was working with a train engineer, and just for those of you who don't know, train engineers are in charge of the engine or the locomotive, and as a conductor, I'm in charge of the whole entire train. So we were heading out of town towards the mountains on the west coast of Canada, and part of my job was to switch rails. If you don't know what a rail switch is, just imagine a big metal box that you spin, and it kind of turns rails into other rails so you can switch where the train is going. Part of switching the rails was you had to get out of the train. So the job says you have to get out on the nose of the train and get ready to jump off the train, let the train pass you, and then you switch, and then the train comes back, all that kind of stuff. But I found myself outside on the nose of the train, hanging off, for lack of a better word, there's a little ladder on the right-hand side and the left-hand side of the nose of the train. I was on the right-hand side ladder. And on this day, we had to pass across an intersection. Or I guess not across, I guess pass through an intersection to continue our journey. And I'm hanging off that right side, like I said, and a semi-truck decides to run through the crossing. As we were about to hit the semi, I thought to myself, I'm gonna die. And do I want to be crushed by a truck, or do I want to jump off of a speeding train and get sucked under the wheels and cut in half? It's truly funny the amount of thought that you can do in a split second. I don't know, man, it's crazy. But I figured I'd rather have my family deal with a crushed Alex rather than a mangled, cut in half Alex. Obviously the train destroyed the semi-truck and trailer, but obviously I survived because I'm here. I survived physically, but more on that in a bit. I ended up quitting this job feeling that I was going to disappoint my parents and feeling the worst and darkest I have ever felt in my whole entire life. Which is kind of a stupid thought, because my parents are the greatest humans that I've ever come across. But for those of you who know, severe depression brings you into some really dark places and you think that nobody is there for you. Fast forward through a few menial jobs, and I end up landing a job with the company that I work for now. It's a very, very large gas company, not petroleum or whatever. It's not like fuel for cars, but it's a natural gas company. I started feeling better about myself. I thought maybe my demons would go away, but sadly they didn't. Although work was great, I oftentimes found myself working in those same rail yards that I'd just come from. Not doing railway things, but up here in Canada, the rail yards require a lot of natural gas because they use line heaters to heat their lines so that they don't freeze in wintertime. I don't know if you guys saw somewhere in the States last year, it got so cold that they were lighting their rails on fire. Well, up here what we have is line heaters that heat up all the switches and things, so no ice or snow can build up in there, so they're easily switchable. That's basically what they're doing. The minute I stepped foot on those properties, though, strange things would start happening to me. I'd burst out into a sweat, I would start shaking, I felt absolute terror, and sometimes I'd even start crying uncontrollably. It would later be, I guess, diagnosed as a post-traumatic stress disorder. About a year and a half to 2 years into my current career, I got a promotion and was asked to move to a new city that's just outside my old one, which is great. I ended up at my parents' place one day, and I think it was to actually tell them about the news of me actually getting the new job, or the new promotion, I should say. And my dad asked me if I was feeling alright because I hadn't been acting as okay as I used to. Like I was like a pro at hiding my fucking depression. It was an art, but it took all my energy. Finally, when you got no energy left, you just say fuck it, right? But my parents said that I should maybe talk to a psychologist. And I was like, fuck that. Keep this in mind. Before this, I had started antidepressant meds, and they turned out to be the wrong ones and fucked me up, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But I also made a vlog about it, I think. So if you want to check it out, you can. What you guys don't know is that my dad had previously had skin cancer, and he discovered more of it at this time. So he told me that if I didn't get help, neither would he. Now, obviously, like, he would have gone to the doctor, right? But I love my dad so much that I was like, okay, all right. So I went to the head doctor, who was a really, really awesome lady, by the way. She was the one who just diagnosed my PTSD, and she helped me find ways to cope with my depression and all that kind of fun stuff. Things were great for a while. Then I started to find myself feeling pretty shitty, and like my meds weren't working. So this is where the other vlog gets into way more detail, but I was taken off that med, or those meds I should say, and given different ones. And for the grand scheme of things, I had to go through drug withdrawal. For never having done drugs in my life, I've been through drug withdrawal. How fucked up is that? But like I said, I won't bore you about that. There's a vlog that I made probably 4 years ago maybe, on the same channel about it. I think I went into detail. If I didn't, ask questions. I don't care. I'll answer them. I ended up getting super sick and gaining boatloads of weight. Now, that is kind of the reason, like the underlying reason why I ended up switching from my sport bike to my cruiser, because with my cruiser, my legs are stretched out in front of me as opposed to curled up behind me. So like my knees were killing me on my sport bike. Although I love that sport bike to death, and I wish I still had it to this day, unfortunately I don't, which fucking chaps my ass every day. But I love this new bike, don't get me wrong. But anyways, there's not much else that happened at that point, so let's continue on. Eventually I ended up sharing with my friends, and they supported me, and I'll never be able to thank them enough, truly. It was at this point though where I started a new YouTube channel, and eventually ended up putting this one kind of on the shelf, which is kind of where I'm picking it up today, I guess. I found that switching my sport bike to my cruiser had a different feel, obviously riding feel, but it had a different feel for my videos. I didn't find that they were as compelling, I guess, for some reason personally. So the other thing was that I felt like I ended up making a lot of rants about things on that channel, or on this channel I should say. So they weren't doing me any good mentally either. But that's neither here nor there. But life for me would end up changing though a little bit later, because my sister gave birth to my nephew. And although I loved that little kiddo from the day I saw him, I still couldn't bring myself to help myself. I'm almost done, I swear guys, but I have to get all this story out because it's me, and I want people to know my story, because maybe it'll help somebody. So my life took a turn when my nephew was probably one and a half years old, something like that, or whenever kids start saying their first words. I heard my nephew's first words, which were yum yum, and he would say it just like that, and then eventually he says, oh wow. And it changed me on some deep spiritual level or whatever. I knew right then that I needed to get myself healthy so that I could run around and frankly be alive for this little guy's life. And folks, that takes me to right now. I've changed my antidepressants to a lot less aggressive ones, but yet more helpful ones. I've lost a significant amount of weight, and I'm still in the process of losing. I personally feel the happiest that I have felt in truly at least 20 years. I'm determined to get healthier. I'm learning how to not let the little things stress me out. My work has once again become enjoyable. I feel creative. I feel, like I said, I feel happy. What the future holds for this channel, I don't really know, but I have a few ideas of videos I want to post, but it'll take some time, I'm sure. If you are interested in my other channel, it's Werewolf at the Movies, and I ride my motorcycle and I review movies. So yeah, that's pretty cool, right? But thank you so much for listening to me drone on. My wish is that this finds somebody who needs to hear the things that I'm saying, and they need to know that it does eventually get better. As an aside, I really need to thank my family and friends, two of whom have helped me more than they will ever fucking know. That's Jim, who's a master of all things wrestling, and he's on YouTube at Jobbed Out, JOB'_D O-U-T. And my buddy Dan, the hot sauce connoisseur at Hot Sauce Done Quick, and Dive In, the place to go for amazing and well done mini documentaries. They're actually phenomenal. But thank you again, and remember, if you ever need an ear to listen, there's always somebody willing to help. And if you can't find somebody, fucking message me, man. I'll try to help. But anyways, love you guys. Thank you for listening. Sorry it took so long. And until next time, I've been The Wait You Can, and thanks for watching.